What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Hey, BALLBUSTERS! Welcome to episode 5 of Metal Beer Horror, the podcast that's exactly what you think it is. I'm Bates, and joining me as always are my co-hosts.
Ray Mungus.
Tom.
Leather Rebel.
We are recording this episode Sunday, August 5th, 2018. And it should air... Yeah, fill in the gaps there on that one. Yes, this is episode 5. But this will be the third episode you'll be listening to, because episode 4 is a mystery at this point.
Well, wouldn't that be the fourth episode they'd be listening to? Because we put the first 3 out, and the fourth one's Lost in Space.
It is Lost in Space.
Oh,
honestly,
yes. This would be the 4th episode because the 4th one is gone. You're right.
This is like a Game of Thrones like continuity.
I'm feeling pretty lost right now.
So, yes. I'm not really sure when episode 4 is going to come out. We might just kind of... And it's a doozy of an episode. I can't believe we held on to it for this long.
Like I said earlier before we started this podcast, I'm thinking about putting it on a flash drive and putting it into a time capsule. And hopefully within 100 years, somebody's going to discover this after we're long dead. And they're going to be like, wow, they really had a segment where they complained about the Olympics?
Yeah.
Wow, what a bunch of pricks.
You know, it's going to be like, hey, listen to the idiots. You know, look what we found. You know, we're so technologically advanced in the next 100 years. You know, we have pills that that make you urinate right away. But look what we found. We found these morons, who recorded this thing called a podcast.
That or we're going to be in the situation where it's like Idiocracy. And the civilization has gone so far down the tube, they'll probably think they found food with the flash drive. So no one's going to hear the episode. They're going to just gnaw on it.
For those of you that are confused, episode 4 is the one comes after 3 but before 5.
Yeah, very, very good. There's our information.
Now, somebody went to school.
At least one of us.
We get it. You have knowledge and education, all right?
Yes, we are morons, and he is the king. He's our leader.
Idiocracy is happening already at this table.
As always, our theme song is Death Before Dishonor by Magus Beast. Be sure to check them out over at facebook.com/MagusBeast. And we want to extend our thanks and appreciation for everyone tuning in and also giving our previous episodes a listen. Even though our previous episode was never released. But there's 3 before that one. So go listen to those.
You know what? I'm going to release episode 4 when I release this one. Both of them are going to happen at the same time, I think.
I don't even think we should just say we're going to release it. I think we should just say we're going to unleash it. Like a plague upon the masses. Yeah,
it's a special episode, especially the first few minutes.
To say the least.
All right, so what have we been up to since the last episode that never came out?
I'm never going to live this one down, am I?
Yeah, no, because I did my part.
He did his part, and I did not do my part. But there was things that happened between February and now that kind of held us back.
Yeah, so why have we not recorded anything in the last couple months? Basically, that's probably on my end. I was moving into my new home, so we didn't have a recording space for a little while I was getting everything sorted out. But now we are in our new recording space, that hopefully sounds good. When I was testing earlier, it sounded pretty good, but won't really know for sure until I listen to this back and start editing it.
Time will tell on that one, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, the new recording space is not a Starbucks or public place where we get odd looks anymore.
Or a kitchen. And actually, if you take a look around, and I know this, that request is very difficult for radio format, but if you look around over here, we're surrounded by pop culture, like nothing but. It actually looks like a little bit of a studio. We have art on the walls, fucking computers and wires everywhere. It's really something else.
It's a fucking man cave.
Maybe we'll take a picture of the studio and we'll post it with the episode, just like I posted episode 4.
And it'll be even better once the bar is up.
Oh, yes.
Can't wait for the bar to come up, man.
The quality instantly grows the minute we have alcohol in our system. Trust me.
All right, so just a quick sort of, I guess, rundown on what exactly all of this is. What is MBH? We've already talked about this, obviously, on the first episode, but now that we have merged with thatentertainment.com, we're hopefully going to have some new listeners. And this might be the first episode they listen to, so we kind of want to just explain to them exactly what MBH is. It stands for Metal Beer Horror. You can kind of infer from context that this is a podcast revolving around metal, beer, and you guessed it, horror. Metal Beer Horror was a concept and an idea started by a friend of ours many years ago, and this podcast is a way for us to continue what he had started and sort of honor what he had started. So that's basically the short end of exactly what MBH is.
Yeah, it's my brother had the original website, Metal Beer Horror, and unfortunately he died way before he should have. And basically this is just a way to carry on the legacy of what he started and just expand it from a website to what we're doing now, the podcast. And that's more or less just it. Nothing more needs to be said about it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's just an excuse to get together. I mean, that's one of the things that he really enjoyed doing with all of us. Even if it was just to sit around and watch Monday Night Raw or a bad horror movie or whatnot, it was a good excuse for everybody to be together, shoot the shit, and have fun. And the four of us haven't done that quite a bit in the past few years, and I figured it'd be a good idea for everybody to kind of reunite like that and keep that mentality going. And this is the 5th episode, contrary to what everybody else is saying at this table, but it seems to be great. It's nice to get together with the guys that I've known for probably nearing 15 years now, and just shoot the shit like we used to. And now we're giving other people a fly's perspective on, just hanging out with us. And you might like it, you might not. If you don't, go fuck yourself.
And one of the things that sets us apart from others who will do a podcast with these types of subject material is that we have so many stories that tie in with our friend who passed away too soon. So a lot of times when we're having a discussion about a particular topic, we can associate that with the story that comes to mind. It's usually pretty funny. Sometimes it's fucked up, and it all kind of comes together, and you'll have a good laugh, and you'll share those memories with us.
Yeah, thankfully there weren't too many sad stories. I mean, most of them at least have some type of ironically funny twist to them. But, there was none of them that were extremely maudlin or sad or anything along those lines. That's, the good part of it.
That's basically what this show is about. You can check out our back catalog of episodes 1, 2, and 3 over on the Dead Entertainment YouTube channel.
That's about right. Yeah, everything's going to be up there, and you can listen to the 4 original episodes, the ones that started it all, and
the 3.
Three. Shut up! All 4 are going up, and obviously this reforming episode, the ones where we got the gang back together and did it one more time, or hopefully more than one more time. We've scheduled a second recording session, and hopefully everything's going to work out.
All right, so every episode, after our pleasantries and nonsense, we always dive right into the beer, because otherwise it would get warm. and that's not a good thing.
Never.
So, this episode's beer of choice is Rogue Brewery 10 Hop IPA. This is a 10% alcohol beer.
Whoa.
That's a good one.
Oh yes, it is indeed. 78 IBUs. Very tasty beer. I actually bought like 8 bottles of this because these are tall boys over in Costco because it's the only place I've ever seen that carries them. But it is a fantastic beer, one of my favorites. It does not taste as heavy as it obviously is. I mean, it's a 10% beer, but it doesn't taste like it's 10%. It actually tastes more like a session IPA, oddly enough. Just very, very heavy in the mouth.
That's what she said.
As you can tell, we're all very, very mature here.
Yeah, we're about as mature as 12-year-olds on the playground, beating each other with sticks.
You know what I like about this segment is the fact that we are actually pouring and drinking the beer. Whereas you may have noticed from certain radio stations where they'll make the crack open a cold one noise and you hear it going into a glass, but no one ever is actually drinking anything. Well, we drink our fucking beer.
Well, the one that really disappoints me is the Busch commercials, because I bought a 6-pack of that, and I wanted to hear that whoosh when you open up the can, and that didn't happen, and I was severely pissed off. I mean, that's just me. I don't know. I expect truth in advertising, I guess.
As you can see, we're passing out the glasses.
All right, well, cheers.
Cheers.
From the glass through your ass.
That is a good taste.
Well, we had this during the marathon.
Did we? Okay,
Yeah.
This is the one that you brought down. Then I already knew it was a good taste, but I'm saying again, this is a very good tasting beer.
Yeah, so I found this beer about a month or so back at Costco. I'm a big IPA guy. I like Rogue. They usually put out some really good beers. And I grabbed a bottle of this, and I couldn't believe... And I typically don't like really high alcoholic beers, just because they end up just tasting like dog shit in the end. I won't drink anything that's usually over 11 or 12% anymore, because then it just starts tasting like barley wine, and it's awful. But I decided to give this one a shot, and I was pleasantly surprised by just how light it almost felt, despite it being 10%. And as I said, it's almost like a session IPA. It's just that when it's in your mouth, shut up. When it's in your mouth, the mouthfeel, it's just very weighty, it's heavy, almost like yeasty in a way. It's hard to explain, but once you get past that, and it goes down smooth. It's got a great aftertaste. It's not overly citrusy, and I do like a good citrus IPA, but this one is more on a floral level in terms of just overall taste. But it's just a fantastic beer. I highly recommend it if anybody happens to come across it.
Goes down nice and smooth.
Yeah, I think that initial feeling that you have in your mouth, it kind of throws you off guard. Like you figure that it's going to be a real heavy beer. It's going to be very bitter because of the high hop count or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, the IBUs.
Right. So you're basically thinking it's going to be all of those things, and then the minute that heaviness like subsides and it goes down, you're just utterly surprised about how smooth of a beer it is. I hate to like say the exact same thing you did, but like when it goes down, it's very, very smooth, very nice, a great taste, and for the high alcohol content, probably worth every penny. We doing a number rating on these things?
Yeah, at the end.
All right.
I don't know what the hell you guys were drinking. I didn't think it was light at all. I thought it was kind of heavy. I think the heavy mouthfeel that Matt was talking about. Oh yeah, no, you definitely feel it. I will say this though, it is smooth when it goes down, but I don't know. I felt it was kind of heavy. I felt it was a heavy taste to me.
Well, you know what I think that is? I think that's just your palate not being used to IPAs.
Yeah, I mean, normally I drink like Pilsners and lagers.
Exactly.
I drink like Miller Genuine Draft and, that type of stuff.
Not
Budweiser, though. Don't ever say Budweiser. I already went off on that shit. Look in the archives.
See episode 1, I think?
Yes, episode 1.
Tom, what's wrong with Budweiser?
Oh, boy.
No.
Go to episode 1. Go to the first
shit.
episode. Do some research. And stop being an instigator, Anthony.
What do you think?
I like it a lot. You hit the nail on the head with your description. And for those of you looking for the beer in stores, lime green, kind of ecto green graphics. Looks like the hops are in a circle. Are those hops? Because I can't see that from here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so check it out. It's delicious.
I just want to add one other thing about this, the brand, actually, not the beer. If you ever go to a store and you look in the craft beer section and you look at the cool designs on the bottles and like never pick out a beer based on the logo, because generally the design of the label is very deceiving to the taste of the beer. And I thought the same thing with Rogue for a long time. I was like, that bottle looks way too cool to be worth a damn.
You got to be referring to Dead Guy Ale.
Dead Guy Ale is a perfect example of it. They've got like $10 bottles over at like Bottle King, where you're just like, I need that bottle. That label speaks to me. And then you taste it. It tastes like it was like brewed with dirt. And like it's absolutely horrible. But Rogue is like it lives up to the label. I know it's silly for me to say that, but it's a fantastic brand. Definitely worth drinking.
Now that I can actually see the bottle, it's in front of me. It is the number 10 drawn out in all hops. So just look for that in green and you've got it. Rogue 10 hop IPA.
So overall, this has quickly become one of my favorite beers. That's why I was buying them up in droves when I saw them at Costco, because once they're gone, they usually don't get them back in. And this is easily a solid 8 out of 10 for me in terms of rating.
I'll echo that easily. Like I mean, really don't have to elaborate too much after that.
I give it a 4. I mean, it's not the worst thing you'll ever drink, but then again, I'm not an IPA guy, so my number is slanted. But if you like IPAs, I believe that Ray and Matt's number is more dead on than my number is.
I have to go with the 8 as well.
Well, don't worry, Tom, because next episode I got a good one. I got a good Irish beer for us, right? We didn't do Kale and Creeds, did we?
No, I don't think so.
I never heard of it.
It's a unique one. I found it at Costco, man. I find some good beers at Costco.
Surprisingly, you would think you'd find more of them at like a typical local store, or maybe the ones that specialize more in beer. But like Costco, it surprises me when I go in there what they carry.
Some of the names of these, it makes you sound like you have to go on like the tour of the brewery to
right?
get like a sample of it at the end. After you see how the beer is made. It just has that feel to it. Yeah.
The only issue is there is only 3 bottles, and Tom, looks like you're gonna have to have Budweiser.
I think we're gonna lose a podcast host by the end of this session at the rate Anthony's going.
Listen, instigator, knock it off. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you want my opinion on Budweiser, check out episode 1.
Look at that, such a team player. That was your second warning, by the way. Third, you're out.
This is why we can't have nice things. Alright, so moving on. Typically we would move into our next segment, which usually is a segment we like to call General Hostility, where we pick some type of topic and rant about it. Not always referring to metal, beer, or horror, as you might hear on the Lost episode 4. I'm not even sure how that topic got brought up and chosen, but
I love the fact that you looked at the show notes and like you previously didn't read the show notes, and you're like, for some reason they're mad about the Olympics. Like
all I am going to say is that it was a subject of the time that we recorded the episode.
Indeed.
Okay? That's why it was there. That's why I went off on it. And that's why it exists. Unlike the Phantom episode 4, which, hell, we might not even, we might never even see the light of day. So,
I'm just going to I'm not going to release it because it's going to be a great running joke if I don't.
It's so cliche for bands or podcasts to have a lost episode.
Right.
But we totally didn't plan that.
And you know what the fucked up thing about that is? I thought that was our strongest episode.
It was. It's definitely the best episode.
Definitely
it's
the
the
best.
funniest episode.
Well, it's the most coherent. It's the most coherent episode.
No, that is not fucking true, and that is blatantly obvious within the first 10 minutes, and a certain voicemail being played.
Oh, that's on that episode too.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Oh my god!
You guys
I'm gonna have to go home and find this thing on our Telegram. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's got to be up there, right?
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there. Don't worry about that, my friend. You just gotta look for it. You just gotta go way back in the archives, but you'll find it.
I have it downloaded. It's in my iTunes right now, ready to be to listen to go over it, so I can make some art for it, and maybe one day.
We need to stop holding out for our listeners.
Apparently.
Well, if we get enough listeners, maybe we could, I don't know, maybe slice it up, put out a couple pieces. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea. With the way we're going to be releasing this stuff.
Yeah, that's an idea. I could probably do something like that as little teases for the last episode. Build up some more hype for it.
Perfect.
All right, so we're going to be happy this week.
Yeah, we were pissed off enough. Like, for those of you who don't know, you probably might not know, like old listeners or potentially new ones, we do a live podcast every Wednesday called Way of Life Live. It's Bates and I talking about horror and geek news. If you listen to the last two episodes, this past Wednesday and the Wednesday before, we've been pretty worked up over Marvel-related stuff that we're not really going to get into. Go listen to those episodes. And I think it's a good day to not have any weight on our shoulders for once. We've been pretty fired up lately.
Well, I mean, the only thing you can really bitch about is the weather, but I mean, it's a typical New Jersey summer. It's hot, it's humid, it rains half the fucking time. But I mean, if you've ever been, I mean, the whole country's fucking hot as shit right now. I mean, it's just burning up.
We're just on fire, just flames everywhere.
Yeah, literally in California, like Yosemite and stuff like that. Yeah, that's literally the case. But we decided not to do it this, because basically we don't really have too much to bitch about, other than the fact that it's summer, it's hot, it's humid, and I can't fucking stand it because I hate hot and humid weather. But other than that, no real reason to go into it because it's basically affecting everybody. So, Yeah,
my biggest gripe of the day was actually having to move out of my bed, and I mean, first world problems,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, me too. I'm recording this hungover slightly, so yes, go me.
I don't even remember last night, so go me too.
Sounds like a good night.
It was, from what I can't remember.
So, no general hostility this week. We're staying happy, but I'm sure there'll be plenty to bitch about on the next episode.
I'm generally happy.
We're going to change the name of the segment to General Happiness. We're okay. Bunch of middle-aged guys, like, we're alright, we're doing okay.
And then we'll change it to General Haberdashery, where we just basically make fun of each other's t-shirts.
Hey, the football season hasn't even started yet. You're going to break my balls.
Listen, I'm a Jets fan, okay? My season's over already.
Oh, I know.
I'm just going to watch the games, post my little stuff on our Telegram account, and cry until I go to sleep.
Please bring back the jet crashing
jet
pictures.
Oh, come on now.
Those are my favorite.
You know that's coming up. Same thing with the drunken clowns.
This sounds like
Cleveland plays.
It sounds like it's turning into general disarray.
Very true.
How many games do you think they're going to win this year?
Disarray. Jets, I'd say. I don't see too many more than last year. I'm going to say 6.
6.
I'm going to be, because we're being generally happy this month. So I'm going to be generally optimistic.
Well, don't feel bad. It's not like Denver's going to do too much better.
The Bears already lost once in the Hall of Fame game, so...
By 1 point.
Man, but still...
Yeah, but it's the preseason. I mean, everyone's still working out the tweaks and the bugs. So, don't worry too much about the preseason. When the games actually start to, when the games start to matter, that's when you should start to worry.
True.
And try not to be generally confused.
Alright, so, moving on, we are going to jump into some horror discussions. That's generally what we do after... General hostility.
General horror.
Generally
General
speaking.
horror, yeah. Generally. So the first topic we're going to be discussing, not so much me, because I don't really watch American Horror Story, but Jessica Lange returning to American Horror Story.
Nice.
This is big news. She hasn't been on the show in 3 or 4 seasons,
I think
if I recall.
5. Whatever season Coven was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Coven
been a
was her
while.
last season. And for her to leave the show is utterly disappointing because, I felt that she was the glue that held the entire story together. She's a fantastic actress. Really embodied these characters that she was playing. And the minute that they announced that this was going to be a crossover between the very first season, Murder House, and the last season Jessica Lange was in, called Coven, I had a feeling that she was going to come back in some capacity. And actually my brother at Dead Entertainment discovered originally a cast photo posted on an Instagram account. And I don't want to sit there and say that we broke news, because we didn't. But we speculated on it, one of the first websites to do so. And I know it's easy to say, oh, you have a horror site, oh, American Horror Story News, it's easy to speculate that. However, one of the Instagram accounts had a cast photo of the people from the new season. Had a bunch of actors, actresses all together, and behind the scenes type of deal. One of the actors in the very bottom was covered with a little skull sticker. You know how you can put stickers on Snapchat and Instagram and stuff? One of the people in the photos was covered. And then somebody else posted that very same picture, and that same person was covered in that other person's Instagram account. So we posted an article a couple months ago that we think that it was Jessica Lange in that photo, and she was being hidden. And it was a theory that we kept running with on the website, and it paid off this Friday when they announced that she is returning to the show. I don't know how many episodes she's going to be in, but she's going to be appearing in the 6th episode first, which is the directorial debut of Sarah Paulson, one of the other people that played multiple characters. So, thing that people are excited about is that she is returning back as the character she played in the very first season. Because this season is a Murder House Coven thing, and they just recently cast the little kid, spoilers if you haven't seen the first season, the little kid at the very end of season 1 who was the Antichrist. And this new season's called American Horror Story Apocalypse. So let's do some math here. The world's probably ending because of the Antichrist, and Jessica Lange is his surrogate mother. And then they're bringing in the witches from Coven to probably help stop that.
Holy shit.
This is going to be a fucking nuts season.
Well, either that or they're going to help train the Antichrist uses demonic powers or whatever to bring forth the apocalypse.
I would say that is a complete possibility if Jessica Lange was playing the character she played in Coven. She was kind of like the evil witch, the witch that wanted to cut the corners to gain power and cut the throats of anybody that got in her way.
Yeah, the fun witch, in other words.
Yeah, she was basically defeated in that season by the coven that is still existing. So I would not doubt if the coven was the group of people that are trying to stop the end of the world, but the fact that Jessica is returning back to the character that she started with is awesome to me. It's really fantastic.
I'd like to share something because I read about the new season a long time ago, and what I read was that the new season would kind of go along the lines of a haunted cruise. Did you hear anything about that?
The only stuff that I heard early on was I guess one of the working titles of the show was going to be American Horror Story Radioactive. So then that started to fade away from a lot of the news stories. Like maybe somebody broke the wrong type of news, or maybe it was a story detail within the series. Given that information, I'm wondering if they're going to be doing something like The Stand. Stephen King's The Stand, with radioactive being like a Randall Flagg era, or a Randall Flagg-esque end of the world with some sort of radioactive nuclear war of some sort.
Or it could be, the world has already gone through a nuclear war, a nuclear apocalypse, kind of like a Mad Max, somewhat dystopian future.
That'd be a really interesting landscape.
Which I honestly think, I'll be honest with you, it's been done to death.
Sure.
The dystopian landscape, because it's been done. Every TV show that has some finger in the pie of science fiction or horror has kind of done an episode or a season where that turns out to be the case. And I mean, some of them are varying. Some of them are varying quality. But if they were to do the radioactive season, I just can't see the radioactive season being all that good for American Horror Story. That would be more like American Sci-Fi Story.
Honestly, if they were to use it, I think the best course of action would be to use it as a background tool, not like a dystopian thing, but like something that could possibly imminent if the Antichrist came to power. I think that would be a smart move, and then it gives motivation to the good guys of the world to rise up against the evil. So we can have a classic good and evil thing, and the fact that they kind of are pulling the strings on all of their stories to show that all these anthology stories, each season is a different story, anthology. They're pulling the strings to show that they're all connected. It just makes the story, the overall story, much more strong. And to tie it into that very first season that kind of hooked everybody and kind of blended in with where they're going, I think we're going to be in for a good season. Probably one of the strongest in a few years.
So let me ask you something. And the things you've learned about this upcoming season, do you foresee a role with the clown in circus? Because I have to tell you, he's grown in popularity. You've seen Halloween masks, and you've seen his picture all over the internet. When people see this clown from American Horror Story, they associate it with American Horror Story. So I can't help but think that he'll have a cameo in some way. What do you think that'll look like?
I don't know if it'll be this season, to be honest. I think this season will probably more focus on characters that were already established, and not to say that he isn't. Twisty is not.
Twisty is his name?
Twisty, yeah. Okay. Not to say he's not established or anything, but I think we're in a situation where they're going to probably focus on just the murder house and coven connections. An interview with Ryan Murphy said that they were going to have all the people that played in coven that are still with us.
Yeah, all the people that survived.
Everybody that survived were invited back to have some sort of role in this upcoming story. So you kind of, like, with them merging two seasons together and having Ghost involved from the first season and things like that, it might get a little bit too crowded. But very good, and for the good news that came along with this cast return is that they just renewed American Horror Story for 2 more seasons. So now that they're playing in the let's tie and connect these stories together, what's to say we're not going to get more of Twisty in, say, season 9? Sure. Maybe they're going to connect a different story to another one, or start to like put the chains off and say, now we're less of an anthology show and more of a narrative.
And what role do you think Jessica Lange will play in this whole thing? You think the witch, or do you think more?
Well, I mentioned before that she's playing the character Constance Langdon
Okay.
from the very first season. The role that I'm hoping in the bigger scheme of things, as far as the other renewed seasons, is that maybe other versions of her character return. Maybe the season doesn't just end with this season. Maybe this is the finale. Maybe they got renewed for 2 seasons so that they could really flesh out this connected universe in the next 2 seasons too. That would be interesting.
And when does this new season come out?
September. I don't know the exact date right this second, but it's mid-September if I recall correctly. It's going to be a shortened season, like last 2 seasons. This way, the shortened seasons for me, they trim a little bit of the fat, and it seems like there is a better narrative. Everything seems tighter. Everything has a purpose for being on the show, as opposed to an excuse to lengthen the season.
Well, I think they cut the last season short because it was the cult season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and the cult had some type of political leanings towards it.
Yeah, it was a very heavy-handed for the political political satire, and I don't think it was cut in that sense, like you were suggesting, but it was just from what I read in the previous seasons, or from the previous seasons in the creator, that he wanted a tighter story going forward.
Okay, no, because I thought it might have been because, the whole political thing from, a couple years ago with the U.S. election and, everything else that was kind of tied to that, if you watch the news, kind of might have led to some form of lower ratings or some other form of backlash that basically forced the truncated season.
Yeah, the ratings have been pretty strong in general. I think they dipped a bit when Jessica Lange left, but that was kind of expected. They didn't really know what the seasons were going to look like without that kind of godmother usher, overseeing everything.
Yeah.
But the stories, if anything, they were critically bashed, but it got better in the previous years. As the seasons went on, without her, people started to warm back up to the show. And now that she's returning, everybody's like, well, I'm back.
So now the series is red hot again.
Yeah, it's about to be probably, and with Walking Dead, I'm not going to deviate too much, but Walking Dead, basically on the verge of destroying their own show. This is the perfect time to give Jessica Lange that contract, lock her in for the next 2-3 seasons, and take over the October time slot as far as powerhouse television.
Yeah, I mean that's smart, and plus FX and FXX usually put out their shows around early September.
Mm-hmm.
Through I'd say mid-September. They're doing another spin-off. They're doing a spin-off of Sons of Anarchy called Mayans.
Yes.
Which I gotta tell you, I love the commercial for that because they use the Spanish version of the Rolling Stones painted black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass. It looks good.
Yeah, I mean, and also they're doing another season of Sunny in Philadelphia, which, for the 13th season, for the promos at least, they're doing a lot of horror kind of themed, things along those lines. You have one with the hockey mask and, people being cut in half and shit like that. It's just, I think it's because the 13th season. I think it really has nothing to do with with horror. But I mean, it is, there is a lot of horror imagery in it, and that's the only reason why I bring it up.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Like I said, FX is really setting themselves up to be a very strong player as far as television content goes. And like I said, the sky's the limit. They're the people that write the checks are basically who are in control right now, and they have a great potential with her dipping her feet back into the pool.
Looking forward to it.
So, moving on, we, as a group, have not really talked about or discussed the new Halloween trailer. I mean, Mungus and myself have already kind of given our opinions on it on the live podcast.
Yeah.
Overall, I liked it. I'm not a overly big fan of how they're retconning some stuff, like the ending of part 1. But I mean, it could just be looking into it a little too much. But it seems like, from the way they described it in the trailer, it seems like Michael was shot by, Dr. Loomis, and he fell. Then he got up and walked a little bit, and then they caught him down the road. That's what it sounded like they said in the movie trailer. But that can't possibly be how it happened. Like, he gets up and then, they catch him on the next street? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I'm saying, and I know we've talked about this already, I'm saying that scene where they look over the balcony and Michael is not laying there, that's the thing they're retconning. They're cutting that segment out, and the police are going to show up and they're going to find his body on the ground with bullets in it. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to charge him of what he did. There's a whole grisly gallery around the neighborhood of who he killed, and that's enough to lock him away for 40 years. And that's where the trailer picks up.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot more sense. I hope they do something like that. I mean, I wish they didn't retcon it at all, but you can't win all these battles. But overall, the trailer in general was very creepy. Great atmosphere. It felt very true to the first two movies, in my opinion, because I love Halloween 2. And I'm not a big Halloween fan, but Halloween 2, man, I love that movie. It seems like they gave this movie a lot of love, and I think it's going to be a big fan pleaser. I think a lot of fans are going to be happy. There's going to be fans that are going to be mad. It's just how this type of fandom works. You can't please everybody, but they're going to come damn near close.
All right, so I have a question. We'll go around the room here real quick. New version by John Carpenter versus what Rob Zombie has done in recent years.
Well, just to let you know, John Carpenter is in a executive producer role in this. The movie is directed by David Gordon Green, who did the Vice Principal show. He worked with I keep wanting to call him Kenny Powers, Danny McBride. But,
well, let's face it, man. That's who he was, Kenny fucking Powers.
Yeah, he's basically Kenny Powers now. But John Carpenter is back. In that sense, he basically oversaw, the production, gave his blessing on the situation, and he's scoring the movie, which is pretty fantastic. I think we went over a lot of this with the Rob Zombie comparisons before, but just taking a look at what Rob tried to do and what they're trying to do in this sense, Rob wanted to make his own movie. And I'm not saying Rob like I know him personally, but he wanted to make his own version of Halloween. And the very first movie shows, like, if you watch the movie, it almost feels like you could see the battle between the rights holders and Rob Zombie creatively wanting to make something different. So it seemed like he reluctantly did a lot of, okay, we'll recreate those scenes from the old movie. And then he injected a lot of, this is my version of Halloween, and this is my version of Michael Myers. I think they let the chains off in Halloween 2. And the results weren't good. They weren't great. It was a brutal movie. He introduced many interesting concepts into play, but at the end of the day, it was just taking Michael Myers, throwing as far as he can, and he basically had a bloodbath in his path. What David Gordon Green and co. are trying to do in this one is recreate atmosphere, imagery, and that feel that you had when you rented that movie for the first time as a kid. And based off the trailer alone, I think he captured it. And I don't know. That's just where I'm sitting right now.
Honestly, I have no idea how any of this showbiz stuff works. All I know is that, if John Carpenter is involved in this in any form of capacity, I figure it's gotta be better than what Rob Zombie did. Because as Ray just, as Mungus just said, it seemed like he just, he wanted to do his own film and basically turn the Halloween franchise into more or less just like a bloodbath.
Very Jason-like,
Yeah.
It's almost like he wanted him to be more Jason.
Yeah, but this is the difference, okay? Jason's a revenant. He's basically a spirit that knows nothing, that wants nothing but revenge and knows nothing but killing. And I'm taking this from the Mortal Kombat XL ending, in which, that's my knowledge of it. That's how I get into these things. I'm more of a gamer than a horror movie guy. But even then, even with Jason being basically, basically Scorpion with a hockey mask and a machete.
I love it.
I gotta assume that with John Carpenter on board on this, it's got to be better than anything Rob Zombie could even conjure up. It just can't be as bad as the basic mindless bloodshed that is basically what horror movies are to some degree today. As opposed to when John Carpenter did the original in 1978, which I suggest that you go buy, or watch or do whatever you're going to do with. And, or at least the original 2 movies, because 3 was just batshit off the rails crazy. It had nothing to do with the series. But if John Carpenter is on board with it as an executive producer, and I guess he can give the director kind of tiny little notes and stuff like that as to, maybe you should put, maybe you should direct it a little more like this. I guess I'm on board with it. But like I said, it's Halloween. To me, I've never been too big a fan of the Halloween franchise. So for me, it's meh, whatever.
Well, the best way I can describe this is that when I watched the trailer for the new one, it felt like the original to me. And what I mean by that is, when I watched the original Halloween movie, let's say I'm watching it in March or April, I can smell fall when I watch that movie. I don't know how or why, but I watch it. Doesn't matter what month, what time of year. I watch 1978 Halloween and even Halloween 2 to a lesser degree. I can smell fall. I can smell the leaves. I can smell pumpkins. I can smell... That's how perfect the imagery and atmosphere are in those movies. When I watch Rob Zombie's Halloween, I smell a 70s strip joint. Sweaty and disgusting. That's what I smell when I watch that movie. Now, I don't hate that movie, but I just do not get that same atmosphere from it. So, the fact that this new trailer is really giving me the feels in terms of, it's like the original, I think we can expect some good things. It's the best way I can explain it.
So with this new Halloween movie coming out, it's certainly, hopefully, appealing to a younger generation who may have missed the entire history of this movie. So with that in mind, what would you say to a younger person going into this movie? What part of the Halloween movie history should this person watch so that they have an understanding of what they're getting into?
Part 1.
I would want to say part 1, but I've been in a weird situation where I've watched classic movies that still capture my attention and imagination, like they did back when I watched them when I was younger, with an audience of young people, and they're not built like we used to be. They have technology and constant content at their fingertips. Nothing shocks them anymore. We had basic cable and the occasional night out to Blockbuster or Dollar Video to rent movies, and that's what we survived off of as far as like expanding our imagination. So if I were to say something to somebody young and upcoming, to as much as I want to tell them to go watch 1, maybe it's best to just say go watch the new one, because the new one seems to capture what the original did and kind of not update it in a way, but it seems like it's going to get people in the seats. It's going to give fans new and old exactly what they want, and maybe then they'll start just working their way backwards to the movies that we grew up with and finding the charm in them. Plus more sequels for us if it does well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to get another sequel to this one. I think this is going to be a capper on the series.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to believe that, money talks. They're going to find some way to bring them back, as they always have, always will.
A couple weeks back, we did a thing.
We did a thing.
It was a long thing, an exhausting thing.
I think we feel a little more awake now to talk about it.
So we watched 17, 18 hours worth of the Last Drive-In 24-hour movie marathon.
Yeah, we did that.
We saw 9 movies. Technically, we would have seen 11 because the first movie we were streaming, but it wasn't playing because Shudder blew up.
The very beginning, Shudder just imploded. Nobody could get on. We were there, ready on time. My Uber got here with 15 minutes to spare. My ass was on that couch ready to go, but Shudder they were not having it.
Then we were watching Basket Case, but we weren't streaming at that point. We were still recovering. And then Pieces turned into...
Pieces, yeah. That broke as well. Everybody wanted to watch the very end of it, and Shudder got broken again.
Yeah. So we did miss a couple movies, but we held on pretty strong for about 17, 18 hours worth of streaming between Friday night and Saturday night. And it was definitely a lot of fun, but man, was it taxing.
Yeah, like you would never think that just sitting on the couch watching movies for that long would just be so mentally, physically exhausting. Like, we've done full weekends at conventions before where we're like, fuck the convention, we're not even going downstairs, we're just going to watch movies. And we survived. But that's on beds, and that's on chairs with recliners and things like that, and getting up and drinking. And it was a little bit of a different story when we're sitting there with the lights bearing down on us, the entire time, and just kind of
trying to keep conversations
yeah,
going.
Exactly. And I think we did really well, except for the time where you were talking and I was falling asleep at the very end there.
Thankfully, Mungus, no one had to go out in the rain and purchase a new flat screen TV.
Yes, very, very true. We had to do that once at one of the conventions, which, oh boy, just so we could watch something.
Rolling a large, brand new flat screen TV past the check-in clerk at a hotel with a blanket draped over it and waving hello was a surreal experience.
Yeah, totally. Like they looked at us like we were bringing in a dead body or something. Like, we aren't supposed to bring the dead hooker out or what? But yeah, no, like it was a very tiring experience, very fun. Like we didn't get a lot of movie time in at the last Monster Mania, and you're not going to be attending the next one. So I figured we both figured it was a good opportunity to sit down, hang out, and watch some TV with our old good buddy Joe Bob Briggs, which turned out to be a fun show.
Yeah,
like way more fun than I thought it would be. Especially when you're trying to rekindle that same flame from back in the day. But, man, did he nail it.
Yep, in all his ranty, crazy goodness.
Yeah, no, there was some really great times in general on it. I looked forward to finally going home after that. But I'm hearing they're doing another one.
Yeah, we don't have any details. We don't know how long it's going to be, how many movies it's going to be, or when it's going to happen, but they've already confirmed that that was not the last drive-in.
So in other words, it was a lie.
Yes.
It was a lie, but like all horror movies lie, it's like the last Friday or the final Friday.
Yeah, the end of Friday, after this week,
final
Friday is
chapter.
gone.
Freddy's dead.
Exactly.
No, he's not. Don't lie to me.
Exactly. We fucking know better.
Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit me, movie industry. Listen, I know there's going to be other Fridays. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was just really awesome that 24-hour marathon basically kind of went off without a hitch, minus the couple speed bumps that they had. And those speed bumps, they were not pleasant, but everything in between was perfect. They're doing another event in October, and there's been a lot of chatter on Twitter that he might be doing Night of the Creeps. The fan talked to him about Night of the Creeps, and he responded that he loves the movie, but it would be better if it was scary. And he's like, I would explain more if I ever do the movie. So everybody was like, wait, you can do the movie. You're fucking coming back. So everybody's been hounding him on Twitter for the last few days that we want to see Night of the Creeps. And that's one of my favorite movies. So I'm really hopeful that he does that.
Can't go wrong with Tom
if
Atkins.
this happens, exactly, thrill me. But if this happens and it's not another 24-hour marathon, maybe we get the guys together, hang out, watch this thing, drink some beer, and do what we did before. And maybe make it a little more interactive, more fun, try to get a little more people on. A couple people were mad that our stream wasn't actually streaming it, and this stuff came after the fact. People were too poor to pay $4.99 for Shudder for a month. So they're looking
get it for free?
Exactly, get it for free. We watched it for free. And legally, they gave us a promo code. But they were mad that they went on YouTube, searched Joe Bob Briggs The Last Drive-In, and when they saw our 7-hour video or 10-hour video, that it wasn't a full stream of the show. So they left a bunch of angry comments that I reported and deleted to go fuck yourself, whoever it was. But hopefully this time we'll set it up a little more fun and have a couple more people involved, as long as it's not fucking 24 hours. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, no, we've already discussed about doing more events like this one, like that one. but at most it would be a triple feature, and that's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more than enough.
Yeah.
We've already flexed our guns. We didn't make it as far as 24 hours, but I think 17 and changed pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, people might not like us for, the hour and whatever we're doing now. So, if we did a triple feature, people would hate us for 5 hours.
Exactly.
So,
Hey,
it's just one of those things that, maybe the timing works out, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? It's just something to look forward to in the future if we do it.
So, Bates and Mungus, of the 17 hours you guys watched, what were your top 2 movies?
Top movie was definitely Reanimator.
Hellraiser.
And then Hellraiser would be second.
And Reanimator.
Awesome.
Watching Hellraiser was just so... I like... Who would have guessed that just sitting there watching Hellraiser was just going to be that much fun?
When I heard Hellraiser was one of the movies, because it was a pre-recorded thing, it wasn't a live event, but it was airing live, so people were watching in this really weird communal experience bubble that I haven't seen since, like, special events on television, when they got the Sunday night movie or the debut on Channel 5 of a movie or something like that. So everybody's wild with it. But when I heard Hellraiser was going to be the next movie, I was kind of like, oh, that's a little slow. I love Hellraiser, but it's not the right type of movie for this.
It plods.
You would think, and it does at certain points, but it was just so, I don't know, maybe it was just the time for the two of us, but it was so refreshing to sit there and watch it.
The fact that we wanted to kill somebody after sitting through The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Maybe that was a good cool down movie, that so much so that we were like, all right, Hellraiser, let's fucking do this.
I don't know, The Legend of Boggy Creek, that sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode,
Oh, it should have been.
Pretty much was.
It should have been.
Pretty much was.
Better.
But yeah, Reanimator and Hellraiser, definitely the top 2, easy. They were a lot of fun. I mean, some of the other movies were good too, but they were just fucking really confusing, like rabid. Yeah,
I mean, when you're having a constant conversation and you're getting cut in by Joe Bob Briggs and his sexy mail girl, there's a lot of elements in there that just kind of like distract you from the movie a little, and there's some things that we weren't exactly following throughout certain movies, but overall it was a good experience. We're excited for the next one. If you missed the last drive-in, you could go to Shudder.com and sign up. It's like literally $4.99 a month. And I was on there yesterday filling up my list, and they got some good horror up there. But the entire last drive-in is on demand right now. You could watch it movie by movie, or you could play the full 24 hours. Totally worth your time. I'm going to probably do a movie a night in the coming weeks, and I'm going to rewatch the entire thing with headphones. Quiet, some darkness, and I'm going to relive the actual experience. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so moving on to the metal portion of the episode. Each episode, we typically start by doing what we like to call a heavy metal showcase. And what we do is we sort of showcase a local or smaller or indie metal band, and we play one of their songs with their permission, typically, on the episode for you guys to check out. And this episode, we're going to be looking at Skullshifter. What is the song? I Punishment?
I Punishment, yep.
All right, well, this is your area, LR?
Sure. So, Skullshifter was a local band from New Jersey. They are retired now. However, members of the band are currently in very active projects. Namely, their former guitarist, CJ, is the lead guitarist for Blood Feast, thrash metal band originating from New Jersey in the 1980s, resurrected, releasing new albums, touring the world, playing festivals, etc., etc. So they are certainly in the public eye, and those that follow the genre will know that Blood Feast is back with a vengeance. Also active from Skullshifter is their vocalist and bassist, Tom. Calls himself Tom Metallic. And he fronts a Metallica tribute band called Death Metallic with CJ and other members from the underground scene. So they are doing things. Skullshifter, you won't be able to see them in concert anymore, but they were a pretty decent staple in their time. centering a lot of songs around dark imagery and hot rods and things like that. They released 2 albums. First one, Here in Hell, and their second and final was called Inner Demons.
All right, so this is Skullshifter, I Punishment.
Satisfaction, so find the line control between repulsion and attraction. Perilously lunging, writhing, clawing after more, beyond the searing throes of pain experienced before. Rendered helpless to relieve us such flawless imperfection. Desecrated angel wings back by tons of fire, commanding uncontrollably with glowing white desire. Cling seems that flesh will tear away from bone. Stripped of earthly pretense, reduced to elements alone. Blood and sinew can't contain the consuming rage and passion. Devoured by obsession, we fall away into oblivion. Punish.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed Eye Punishment from Skullshifter. As LR said before, band is no longer together, but you can still come across their albums, and if you like what you heard, still pick them up if you can. Try to still support them. The members of the band are still doing their own thing and making music, so I'm sure that they'd still love to hear and have that support. So, moving on. Don't like this part of this, the episode sometimes, talking about any type of legends and icons that pass away suck, but, we're metal guys, and metal born in the 70s and 80s, and, these guys are getting up there in age, and sadly, we're losing a lot of our heroes. That's no exception here. Obviously, I'm talking about the passing of Mark the Shark Shelton from Manila Road. I had listened to Manila Road a few times. I couldn't get into them. I didn't hate them, but I just really couldn't find...
You couldn't find an entry point into the band that was somewhat accessible.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to explain it. It's like, oh, this is okay, but it just... I couldn't just, focus on it. I don't know. But I know Tom and LR were Manila Road fans.
Yeah, and we remember seeing them last year at the Days of Darkness Festival, which was a very good festival overall. Again, go back in the archives and listen to our review of the entire festival. You will know that Manila Road was one of the highlights of the festival. And basically what they were a band from Wichita, Kansas, which, the metal hotbed of Wichita, Kansas in the late 70s. There's absolutely nothing out there other than, wheat and college basketball. Yeah, and of course Manila Road. And LR knows much more about this band than I do. I have a couple albums. I admit I'm not exactly as full into it as he is. I do dabble, and I do know the tracks by this band that I particularly enjoy the most. So, LR,
Well, as you pointed out to me when this happened, Mark the Shark, as he called himself, passed away during Shark Week, which is ironic, kind of funny, but it's
not
tragic.
that funny.
Really,
It would have been funny if he was killed by a shark.
That would just be jingles. That would just be flat. That would just be flat out irony. That would be like the irony god saying, "This is what we're going to do." Some dude who nicknamed himself the Shark is going to get eaten by sharks
During Shark Week.
During Shark Week.
Well.
But here's the story. Manila Road was playing a gig, I believe, in Germany. It was pretty hot, and after the show, they made their way back to the hotel, and it must have been heat exhaustion or something, but Mark had a heart attack, and he was about 60 years old, so he really wasn't up there in age enough to, warrant. I mean, this was not a timely death at all, and that's all I know about that. But as far as their albums, they've been around for a long time. They have a bunch of demos that were recently re-released from the late 70s, which was a live performance on a radio show. And the name of the album escapes me. I do have it on a record.
I believe it's Underground.
That's it. Yes, thank you. And it's a very raw, early look at Manila Road. For those of you unfamiliar with their material, call them parametal, call them traditional metal, but they definitely had a very guitar-driven kind of sound. Mark, as the vocalist, had a very raspy and sometimes
he had a unique voice.
Let's
put it like that. It was a very unique voice. The way I would describe the voice is kind of like a college professor, teaching English, kind of singing at you. I mean, I know my description sounds extremely weird, but the first time I heard him, and my brother's the one who got me into this, the one who formed the metal beer horror, ideal that we talked about earlier in the episode. He's the one who, him and Anthony basically introduced me into this band. And at first I rolled on the floor laughing. He bought the album called Mystification from 1987. It's all like Edgar Allan Poe works. All the songs have some type of Edgar Allan Poe gothic kind of theme to them. And I remember hearing it the first time. The first song I heard, I was rolling on the floor, dying laughing. I thought the guy sounded like Vincent Price.
That's a weird one.
They ran a very parallel line with the subject material you'd find through Sareth Ungol or early Blind Guardian. A lot of, I would guess, some D&D, some
you can call it D&D.
Some sci-fi, fantasy. Things based on history, poetry, like your Edgar Allan Poe. So
that's what it is. It was an eclectic mix of a whole bunch of stuff that somehow worked under his will, and it turned. I mean, there were some classic albums here. I mean, unfortunately, the band is vastly underrated for what they were. But there are a couple of really good classic albums by this band that I would say Mystification is up there.
Yeah, Open the Gates.
Crystal Logic.
Yep. If you want to check out some of their stuff, I would recommend just some songs. You can check out like Divine Victim. Just look them up. Do yourself the favor.
Personally, I would listen to a song called The Riddle Master off of Crystal Logic because that is one of the most metal riffs I have ever heard in my life. And I've been listening to heavy metal for an extremely long time. I've been listening to it for 30 of my 40 years on this earth. And I gotta tell you, I have never heard a metal song, at least riff-wise, that basically encapsulates the wholeness of that band. And it's not a long song. I mean, they wrote songs that were extremely long, but they also wrote, typical songs that were about maybe 5 minutes or so. And this is one of those songs that's about under 5, it's under 5 minutes. So you're not really investing a heavy amount of time into it.
There were actually a few times where your brother and I would get together and jam. And one of the songs that we tried doing was Hammer of the Witches by Manila Road. And, we would always just have fun with that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's all you can do with it.
But one of the things that I've been thinking of, though, is that Mark was lead guitarist and lead vocalist. And there's another guy that also takes the lead vocal parts in the band and sounds just like Mark. They've been friends for many, many, many years. And I often wonder if the band will continue or change their name or what's going to happen. But that just remains to be seen.
What would you prefer them to do? Would you like them to continue, or do you think that, without Mark, it's just never going to be the same?
Well, certainly without Mark, it will never be the same. He was a driving force of that band. Do they have the sound? Absolutely. Could they forge forward? Sure. I would recommend changing the name ever so slightly and kind of having that as pay homage to him, so that they keep the Manila Road name alive and not just really shit all over it.
Yeah, I don't particularly like when bands forge forward without the guy who pretty much runs the entire band. Like when Odorous died for Gwar, I was like, oh, all right, well, that's the end of Gwar, and that's the way it should be. Nope. It didn't last very long. Odorous's body wasn't even cold yet before a new singer stepped in and ruined the band. And it's not always like that. Sometimes you get lucky. I mean, when Bon Scott died, people were probably like, well, how is this band going to continue? Bon Scott, his voice was so iconic. It was so unique. There's nobody ever, then or now, that sounds or sounded like Bon Scott. And they got Brian Johnson, who sounds nothing like Bon Scott. Completely different vocal stylings. And AC/DC flourished. And I'm not going to continue on this AC/DC track here because, yes.
But I will say one thing about.
Wait.
I'm gonna make this really, really quick. So shut the fuck up. All right. When Bon Scott died in AC/DC, they were a band. They were a band that had a ton of momentum behind them. So I feel that no matter what they did, no matter who they got to sing for them, and fortunately it was Brian Johnson of a band called Geordie who won the gig. Their next album was gonna sell mad. It was gonna be, just selling like crazy because they had so much momentum through, touring and everything else. So, I had a feeling that the album was gonna be successful no matter what.
Yeah, that's very true. And, that was Back in Black, and the album sold like crazy, and it was very successful. And so they put it out 15 more times over the next 30 years, and it still sells. People like Back in Black. It's...
Wait a second, you're telling me they have more albums than Back in Black?
Well, they're titled something different, but...
Yeah, but they're all basically Back in Black.
Essentially, yeah.
I mean,
That's what I thought.
You go to the record store, you find Flick of the Switch, guess what? It's Back in Black Part 3. You go find, Blow Up Your Video, it's Part 5.
I honestly think they're just giving the redone cover of Back in Black and putting the new discs in them, like sneaking in a couple albums that maybe they won't notice.
Oh, no, you'll notice. You'll notice.
So, we remember Mark the Shark, and, hope he's at peace. Alright, next up is Tour Talk. Tour Talk is basically where we discuss any, good tours that are coming around in our area, any shows that we have tickets for or we're planning on going to. We missed a couple shows. My dumbass completely forgot about the Slayer show. Not that I would go for fucking Slayer anyway, but that was back in June. They played in our area,
and they just played Jones Beach.
Yeah, and they played like Scranton, and I was thinking about going because I'm like the biggest Testament fan there is, so I wanted to go see Testament. I wanted to see Lamb of God. I would have stayed for Anthrax, and I would have fucking left before Slayer even got onto the stage.
Same here.
Now, let's not forget Behemoth. Because they just released a single, on that I saw on Twitter. So, any Behemoth fans out there, they're also part of this tour. So if you want to go see Behemoth, go see,
They'd be wedged in the middle of all those good bands where you'd have to sit through them.
I don't mind.
No, they'd probably be the opener. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I would think so because they don't have as much a name in America as, say, Testament, Anthrax, even Lamb of God.
Yeah, pecking order. They're first.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't hate Behemoth. I've listened to some of their stuff. I've listened to some of Hell's solo stuff. That's pretty good too. But yeah, so that show came and went. I completely forgot about it. They just played again, not in this area, but like 2 hours away, and I was really considering going. It was on a Tuesday night. But then I looked at the set list, and the set list were like 8 songs for Testament, 8 songs for Lamb of God. I'm like, I'm not fucking driving 2 hours to...
Yeah, to see him for 45 minutes.
Not even. They were like 35-minute sets. They were. It was fucking short. I'm like, I can't. I'm a massive fan of both bands, but that is not worth my time and effort and gas money and fucking being tired the next day for work.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, this is the last sleigh ride, so, or at least that's what I'm calling it. I don't care what anyone else thinks.
Good. Well, that doesn't mean that, Lamb of God and Testament are done. Testament's already said they're going to try to get a new album out next summer. I can't fucking wait. It is what it is there. We also missed Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson. They came around.
No, you haven't exactly missed them yet. I think they're playing a show in Camden on the 9th.
Yeah, then I'll be missing them.
Yeah. Okay, then I just want to make sure.
If we missed the PNC one, we're definitely missing the Camden one.
Oh no, we missed them again.
But I'm not horribly disappointed that I missed that show. The only 2 songs that I really would have liked to see was Marilyn Manson's cover of "Cry Little Sister" from the Lost Boys movie, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the studio version. And Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie did a duet together for "Helter Skelter." And that's how they end the show. And oh man, I've seen video of it on YouTube, and I would love to witness that live. But beyond that, it is typical summer tour fodder as far as the set list goes.
Yeah, set list was dog shit.
Yeah, both bands didn't play anything remotely interesting. Nothing different than they always do when it comes to these big summer tours. And, I've been a Marilyn Manson fan since like 98, or no, not even 98, 96, 97. And I've been there, done that. I've seen those shows way too many times. And give me something unique and I'll come out. Beyond that.
So it's basically greatest hits package stuff.
Basically, yeah. Which you typically get on shows like this.
Good old GHP.
Like, I got excited when I was first looking at the zombie set list because I saw Blood in the Sawdust, but then I realized that it was just like the recording of Blood in the Sawdust.
It's how they open up the album, and that's like the introduction to the stage.
But they never used to do that.
They did it on the Educated Horses tour.
That's how they opened it. Yes, that's on the album.
Right.
So I was like excited when I finally saw that. I'm like, oh, are they going to do something more from Educated Horses? Because I like that.
That would have been nice, yeah.
Foxy Foxy or
American Witch. I would have
liked American Witch. There's some great songs on that album. But yeah, no, that didn't happen. Yeah. So I fucking said, you know what? I am not investing any money into this show either. So I passed that one by. And let's see, coming up, we do have Ozzy. I do not pass up Ozzy, regardless of his set list almost never changing. I don't pass up Ozzy, pretty much because the dude is 70 years old, and I don't know how many more times I'm going to get to see him. Plus, I still think he puts on really fun shows. He's not as mobile as he used to be, and his voice will start to die at the end of the night, and he cracks on higher parts and certain songs. But it's fucking Ozzy, man. You can't pass up Ozzy. So I'll be seeing him when he comes around. I believe that's in September. I feel like there's Judas Priest. We have Judas Priest and Deep Purple coming around.
I'm considering that one.
Yeah, I am going to definitely, because I didn't see Judas Priest on their last go around. But I'm going to check out their set list, and hopefully if their set list is good, I'll definitely be going.
Oh, when me and Anthony saw them in Newark, let me tell you about the set list, man. They reached back into some of the 70s stuff that, they probably didn't play, that they probably haven't played since at least the mid-80s. I mean, you're talking about, not stuff like Sinner, but, because I figured they played that, a couple of times. They probably wheeled out good old Sinner a couple of times. But I mean stuff like Saints in Hell, Running Wild.
Did they play Tyrant? I don't remember.
No, they did not play Tyrant. Unfortunately, they didn't play Tyrant. I would have loved to have heard Tyrant. Yeah. I mean, they didn't play anything from the first. They didn't play anything from the first two albums. They played everything, from like the CBS albums. But like I said, they reached back and drew out a couple of chestnuts that I honestly had never heard Judas Priest perform live before.
That's surprising. Like honestly. Well, I was really, really wanting to go to that show, but I was more worried that with Firepower on the way out, that they were going to be performing heavily toward that album. And to hear otherwise is pretty unique.
Well, I mean, they did play a lot of stuff from Firepower. They did play like 5 songs from Firepower.
Well, after having heard Firepower, I regret that decision now because holy shit, that album is good. We're going to talk about it more on a different show. We might do a roundtable on that. I would have loved to see a ton of that. So that's why I'm considering this upcoming show.
I would definitely go. I'll be honest with you. If for no other reason to see Priest, I mean, I don't know what Deep Purple set list, looks or sounds like, but I'll be honest with you, I don't need to see Deep Purple. So unfortunately, I'm out on this one. But like I said, they pulled out a whole bunch of old ones. They brought Saxon along because they had a new album out, Thunderbolt, which is, I gotta tell you that, and they. Basically, Saxon did nothing past Power and the Glory. Other than the stuff from Thunderbolt, they basically did nothing past like maybe 1983. So it was good to see, Saxon pull out the old war chest and
some classic tunes. Yep.
Exactly. Even though they truncated Power and the Glory, which I'll be honest with you, I'm fine with. I don't need to hear the whole damn thing. So it's a 6-minute song. I don't need to hear the whole damn thing. But Black Star Riders, the band that was on before either one, the opening band. I gotta tell you, man, these guys were fucking good. I mean, not like regular, your typical first bands usually kind of like, hey, we're the local guys. We're so happy to be on tour with Saxon and Judas Priest. No. This is a band that has Scott Gorham in it. If you don't know who Scott Gorham is, go back to the old Thin Lizzy albums from, I'd say, '74 through the end in 1983, and listen to those albums. Listen to that guitar playing. Okay, he was the rhythm guitarist in that band, and that was I didn't even realize he was in the band until they started doing the roll call before the last song, which was a cover of "The Boys Are Back in Town" by the aforementioned Thin Lizzy.
And we kept saying to each other, "This band sounds like Thin Lizzy."
Exactly. That was the whole conversation throughout that whole set. And
really
unfortunately, they only got about a half hour because, I told Anthony this. I said, listen, when I get home, I'm looking these guys up on Amazon and I'm buying an album, which I did. I bought the most recent one, an album called Heavy Fire. And the album covers for this band all look fucking stupid. All right, this is a big fat guy from like the 1910s, holding a flaming barbell. A big fucking flaming barbell. But I gotta tell you, the album inside, it is just a good amount of classic rock for you, if that's really what you're into, man. It's just fantastic.
Well, there's actually a couple more shows. I'll be going to see Eric Johnson. And he's not metal, but he's one of the greatest guitarists ever to live. And I see him anytime he comes to the area. He's playing NJ Pack in September, I believe. And then I was seeing if Wellmont Theater had announced anything good, because they never do. And they announced a couple shows I didn't even know about. In September, Seether and Tremonti will be playing a show. I'm not a Seether fan. I like one or two of their songs, but not a big fan. Rat is going to be at the Wellmont.
Wow, they really, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, holy shit. 30 years ago, this is a band that was selling out stadiums, along with a whole bunch of the other 80s metal cronies, like Poison and, a couple of these other bands who could barely stay awake enough to hold their fucking instruments and strum. But, wow, they have really fallen off the map. Holy shit.
But I'm glad, though, and I love when bigger bands that you would have had to buy stadium seating to actually witness, like they transfer into a smaller crowd, a more intimate venue, and that's not always easy for bands that have that sort of capacity to them. So it's nice to have that opportunity to have a shot to see them in a smaller place for once.
Yeah.
And also October 1st, Slash and Miles Kennedy are going to be at the Wellmont.
Oh, really? That might be worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I'm sure my brother would go to that. He's a big fan of Slash's solo stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like Slash too, but I'm not a big fan of the solo stuff. I've heard some of it. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's Miles Kennedy is the vocalist to me. It just, if it's not Axl, I just don't get into it. I'm sorry, Like I said, Slash is a great guitarist, but, I just can't get into his solo stuff.
Also, next Saturday is Black Label Society at Starland. And yeah, I think that's about it for any decent shows. I think there's a couple other decent shows coming up at like the Gramercy in the city, but
yeah, there's been a handful of ones that I've been. They were on my radar. Like Ghost either came around or they're not coming around, but it's New York shows, and you got to be something special in order for me to drag my ass to the city. And I've done it before for Ghost, and I've seen Ghost like 3 times now, something along those lines. And, I've been there, done that. I'm in that position where the PATH train ride into the city is a little more...
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's like, I could just stay home and watch YouTube videos instead.
Yeah, exactly. I could find and manage a way around it if I don't really particularly want to see the band. I'll go on YouTube, I'll look up like the old videos like they used to show on MTV when they were relevant, instead of showing, reruns of like the Wayans brothers and shit all day long,
Right. There is one show that I'm looking forward to that Bates and I have already started to consider. I got to look up the exact date, and I know LR over here will probably be very interested, but Goblin is going to be playing in Brooklyn, if I recall correctly, not too far from the Barclay. And they are going to be shadow scoring Suspiria, which they're gonna play the entire soundtrack of Suspiria during the movie. It's not exactly a metal show, but they do have metal elements, and Having seen Goblin before, totally worth your time. Hopefully the pieces fall into place and the three of us will trek out to Brooklyn and go see it.
You know, a little bit of that is actually happening on October 27th, 28th at Days of Darkness in Baltimore, Maryland. Goblin's one of the headliners of the festival, where they're just basically playing the score, and they'll have the bits of the movie playing in the background. So they're not playing the whole movie, but they are playing the soundtrack.
That's very cool. As a motorcycle drives.
Sorry, we're all badasses and we're sitting on motorcycles instead of...
It was Richie.
It was.
Riding a bitch.
In a sidecar?
And it flipped over another car.
It flipped over and a tire another car.
And
That's in episode 4. Oh, never mind.
Vroom, vroom, motherfuckers.
So has anybody gone to any shows lately that they want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'll actually talk about the Smashing Pumpkins.
Ooh.
So I saw the Smashing Pumpkins not even a week ago at Madison Square Garden, and it was pretty much like a best of, where, first of all, back up a little bit, this band Metric opened up for them, and Tom would absolutely hate them. Female-fronted band.
Yes. Is that the band that has a song on Scott Pilgrim's soundtrack?
Sure is.
Okay, I love them.
Yeah.
That's a really good band.
I have to tell you, they were amazing. A lot of stage presence. They sounded great. The acoustics in the garden were just dead on. So
You're not the first person to say that. A couple of my friends, Steve, were at that show, and were pretty blown away, having never heard Metric before. Yeah. Definitely not for either of you, but they seem like they'd be a real good show to check out.
Yeah, so female-fronted band along, I would say, alternative rock meets punk. And, just really good. Pumpkins opened up with the vocalist kind of peeking out behind the curtain, stepping up and just doing some acoustic real quick. Did a whole bunch of best of. Covered Space by David Bowie. They did Landslide by Stevie Nicks. And, Jesus, what the hell is that? Oh, and Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin.
Very cool.
And great covers.
Did they play any of their real songs?
Yeah, yeah, they did.
Just making sure.
Basically,
because I would have felt like a rat in a cage if I had to listen to covers all night.
Good one.
That day would not have
Despite
been
all
the
my
greatest
rage.
day I've ever known. If I had heard them play Landslide by Stevie Nicks for an hour and a half.
Yeah, anything you would have heard on the radio about the Smashing Pumpkins, they played. So it was good for me as a casual fan to kind of check that out live, and they just did great. So 2 thumbs up for that one.
All right. Anyone else been to any shows lately?
I don't even remember the last show that I've been to.
Well, I haven't.
Actually, I can remind you. Yeah, and it was the Misfits. It was with me, and also want to say cheers to Lisa and our friends Jack and Janet for joining us.
They're great.
It was an interesting night, mostly because a lot of it is super blurry for me.
Yeah. I wrote a whole thing about it. I should just point people to the website. I wrote this 2,000 word fucking article on the Misfit show, but right now, sitting here, I'm blanking on a lot of it. It was one of those shows that it was all in the build up and the come down. What happened in between during that hour and a half set just came by in a rush.
Shenanigans, just hanging out, having fun, talking, looking for pretzels, trying to find a bathroom, eyeballing the merchandise, then buying the merchandise.
That was the worst bathroom I've ever been in. And I've been in the CBGB's bathroom before. Okay, that was. I'll spare you the details.
Bathroom I had was all nice and clean.
Oh my lordy, that bathroom was like.
My complaint was that they did not play 138.
Me too. And that was on their set list. I have photos of their set list, and that was
bastards.
on there. They decided to nix it at the end, but they did play some fucking amazing stuff. And if you're not a Misfits person or haven't really had your finger on the pulse of the punk world or whatever, this was a big deal. This show, the fact that this is one of the handful of times that Glenn Danzig reunited with the Misfits. More specifically, Jerry Only, who he hated for many, many years. And it was just so cool to see happen, like witness happen. And what I thought was a better, stronger part of the show to me was that I had found out that apparently his mother had passed away the night before. And that basically, for anybody sitting at the table, that is basically grounds for cancellation of anything. But Glenn didn't see it that way. He kind of, I don't want to like go into his mind of like how he saw everything, but the show must go on. And Lord, he put the show on, and he was out there putting his heart into it, like it was in the 80s, like the early 80s. Unfortunately, for a guy that's pushing 60 or over 60, between shows, between songs, he was quite winded, and
He looked good.
Like he was dying.
yeah, he was beaten up by belting out those lyrics. But the fact is if you watch a lot of punk reunion shows, they don't even come close to what he did as far as, like stage delivery. And I gotta give it up to him, given that mental state, given the specifics of everything, and given his age, like the dude isn't a spring chicken anymore. So for him to go out there and just do these rapid fire lyrics and just fucking go from song to song to song in the way that they did was impressive. It was something that probably I would never forget, because I never thought would ever fucking happen. We were there, man.
The stack of amplifiers on the stage was pretty cool. They had all the pumpkins lit up when they played Halloween,
Yes.
and all the pictures in the background, which is really cool. 2 words that define that show outside of the experience in the band that I'm hoping you can elaborate on. Yonder Pouch.
Yonder Pouch. Those were really, really fun.
And I have to say that in between songs, the existence of Yonder Pouch was quite evident, and did make a positive difference in the show. Although
It did. It felt different.
It did.
And I've been saying that for years. So nothing was worse than getting a general admission seat where you're level ground with everybody. Back in the day, it was like a tall asshole stands in front of you and your show's kind of ruined. Now, you have to deal with a tall asshole with a stupid 24-inch fucking iPad that he decided to bring to the show to film it all. With terrible sound quality and video quality that is jittery at best.
Right, it's never going to come
It's
out.
so pointless.
Yeah.
It's like I witnessed many, many years ago when I was filming a show for you that I don't like having that lens separate me from the experience of the show, because
Halloween, maybe?
Halloween, yeah, Dingbats. And then the night after, I decided
the Hut.
not to film the show because I wanted to experience that band. And there's such a difference. And I learned that the hard way, but a lot sooner than we got cell phones that could record and tablets and things like that.
I do have a question real quick. Whatever happened to that video?
Oh, the footage. It's lost like episode
It's
4
lost.
of this podcast.
I'm finding there's a trend there with lost footage with us. So, yeah, go on.
Yes,
go
but
on.
don't worry. I'm going to be digging that out soon for the YouTube channel.
I think you know what I'm going to ask for next in the way
That's
of lost
never going
footage.
to happen. It will be in the time capsule.
I've seen it once. One time I've seen that video.
Exactly.
Once.
I hope it still works. Like, it's
son of
been
a bitch.
old. I've been keeping it in good condition, but that's not here nor there. Yonder Pouches.
Yonder Pouch.
To explain quickly what those things are, they had a very strict no cell phone policy at this show.
Cell phone, tablet,
Nothing.
the smart watches were even
Yeah.
getting locked.
If you wanted to listen or play with your fucking phone, you go out to the designated, dunce
area.
cap area.
Yeah, you go out yonder.
Yeah, you go yonder over there. That's a good one. Into the little cage pen. They unlock your phone and you could go jerk around there with it. Not inside the show. The one thing that I mentioned in my review about these things is that punks don't do very well with oppression. And needless to say, by the end of the show, you seen these Yonder Pouches, which were impenetrable. That's the way they were described. You can't open them. And they were just ripped to shreds everywhere. I know Bates over here, who joined us at the show, that was the first thing he did when he got down to his seat, was tear it open and get his cell phone out.
That's right. You were in a separate section than we were.
Yes.
I was in the fancy section.
Yes. But the thing is even with people still ripping them apart, the show wasn't ruined, because there was only a handful of people, you taking pictures here and there. And even at one point in the show, Danzig's like, I don't give a fuck if you take a couple pictures. Don't film the whole fucking thing.
No, he said, don't make a career out of it.
Don't make a career out of it. But that was the basic gist of what he meant, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't sit there and take pictures, try to sell it, and go put them up online. Don't fucking take food out of his mouth. And the videos that did pop up on YouTube were given cease and desist orders after the fact. Thankfully, immediately, they were fucking around, man. Thankfully, immediately after, I started harassing every Misfits fan I could find for videos from that show and photos, which, cheap plug, go to deadentertainment.com. Right up on top, you'll see a cool little photo of Misfits playing. And you can read my long-winded review on the show. Check out all the photos that I have used with permission from the people that shot them. I have a real nice gallery. I was going to do videos, but with the cease and desist shit that he was doing, not for me. I have those safely in my computer somewhere. But yeah, I got a cool gallery. I have a great write-up from what we've done, what we've witnessed, and check it out.
Those videos are in a folder labeled taxes, correct?
Yes. No. These videos are labeled Misfits because I don't think Danzig has access to my computer. But taxes, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I was at that show. I didn't go for the Misfits. I went for the opening band, Suicidal Tendencies, who just are fucking amazing live. I was a little upset because as I'm sitting there watching them, I'm realizing that it's not Dave Lombardo on the drums. And I don't know if I ever figured out why he wasn't drumming for them that night. I think he might have been on tour with Dead Cross. So that's why he wasn't playing with Suicidal that night. And instead, they got a guy named Brandon Pertzman, who had drums for Doyle.
Yes.
So that's who was on the drum kit playing for Suicidal Tendencies that night. Which is alright, not a big deal. The band still kicked ass. Mike Muir is still a fucking maniac on stage, just running around all night, sweating everywhere, just having a blast, doing his thing, doing it the same way he did it back in the early fucking 90s when Suicidal was, just coming out into the thrash and hardcore scene. And in other Suicidal Tendencies news real quick, they do have a new album coming out. It's going to be out, I believe, in September. They just released the first single from it called Fubar. It's fucking awesome. Dude, I can't believe that Suicidal Tendencies is still putting out music that sounds like it's straight out of the fucking early 90s.
Yeah, they sound amazing. They really do.
It's so good. So you can check out Fubar. It's on YouTube right now. Awesome song if you're into thrash and hardcore. Just amazing shit.
Funny enough, I was at the show when they played, yet I still have not seen Suicidal Tendencies live.
Yeah, that was the first time that I saw them too. And
I heard them, but...
Well, I mean, I peeked through the curtain a little bit. I went over there. But yeah, we got down a little bit late.
Yeah, and then wrong seats and then moving. It was a circus. I tell you know what? Still today, I'm not sure if we were still in the right section.
I don't know, but it was so difficult to see where they were, like the seats. It was impossibly dark in there.
Especially when you can't take out your phone and put on the flashlight.
Indeed, and a small little fun sidebar. At that time when we went to the Misfits show, I had been sleeping really weird hours because of my work schedule, and I forgot to turn off my phone alarm for when I would normally wake up at 7 or 8 o'clock. And basically, the long and short of it was I didn't hear the Grindhouse theme phone alarm, and then it got to the third ring where it basically just beeps uncontrollably. And in a yonder-controlled environment where everybody's all weird about terrorism and such, all of a sudden my phone's like... People around me in the seats are like... What the we're not allowed our phones. What's that noise? And I was like, oh shit, that's me. I have to run over over yonder and unlock my phone with my phone alarm uncontrollably
That's
going
where
off.
you went.
Yes, I had to go over and shut my alarm.
Boy, I really created a monster with that fucking comment, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
Christ.
So do we have any more tour talk?
Yeah, I just want to relate one quick Suicidal Tendencies tour thing, because I did see them on tour, but I didn't see them on the tour with the Misfits. I saw them on tour in 2016 with Megadeth and Amon Amarth and Metal Church. And I'll be honest with you, they had a 45-minute set, and it just seemed like Mike Muir was just like, haranguing the audience. I think they maybe did, it sounded like they only did maybe about 5 or 6 songs. But then again, the rest of the time was Mike saying, yo, what we need to become, better people. And how do we become better people? Yeah, well, you had the din of the guitar and the feedback and everything else, and he's just going off on shit for like 5 minutes. I gotta tell you, that would have been the worst one if it weren't for a band called Butcher Babies, which was just 2 women screaming their heads off for 30 fucking minutes. It just annoyed me.
Yeah, he has like a little intro for every song, and it's a couple.
No, this wasn't intros. This was haranguements.
No, that's what he does every song.
I gotta tell you something. 45 minutes of that shit. If it weren't for the fact that I wanted to see Amon Amarth and fucking Megadeth, which I'll be honest with you, that was the first time I ever saw Megadeth in all my time on this earth.
Wow.
Exactly. I would have just fucking left. I would have said, you know what, fuck this shit. I don't need to hear Mike go, yo. What we need here is love. And how do you get love? By being in suicidal tendencies. Yickety yackety oops. I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Oh, wait a minute.
Drove me nuts.
So I was there. That was with Jimmy.
I don't think you were there for Suicidal, though.
Correct.
Yeah,
so I'm seeing a pattern here. You just don't ever want to see Suicidal Tendencies.
Untrue.
Well, let's put it like this.
Untrue.
Let's put it like this. I like Suicidal Tendencies, who have been around since 1983, by the way. It's not the early 90s. It's been...
Well, no, but that's when they were coming up on too.
Yeah, that's when they blew up in popularity.
Yeah.
1990.
I mean, that's when, like, Possessed to Skate was, like, their big hit, and
Yeah, because they redid the first album in 1993. But, I mean, they had been around for a long time before that. But, like I said, it just seemed like every fucking song was a goddamn haranguement. I'm like, I don't need to hear you talk. I need to hear you sing, and you don't even sing, he just screams the damn songs out. So, I just felt that, seeing Suicidal for me was extremely disappointing.
Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of able to look past that just because I enjoyed the music so much. And the fact that Mike still sounds amazing. I can't believe how great his voice still sounds today, and how much energy he has up on stage, and the way he runs around like a maniac and sweating everywhere. It's just great. Just absolutely great. I'm hoping on this new album they do a full-length tour, a full headlining tour, so I get to see them more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, just don't break out any infectious groove shit. That's all I ask.
I think I would have caught them, but unfortunately I was in line for a Pepsi, and all I wanted was a Pepsi.
Just one Pepsi?
Just one.
It's one. All right. There are some other shows coming up in the area. I'll just run those by real quick. On September 8th, we have Cauldron from Canada playing with Barrow Right, Sanhedrin, and Night Terror. They're playing in Brooklyn, and this is Cauldron's record release for their new album, New Gods. On October 7th, we have Dog Fashion Disco doing an acoustic set at Dingbats in Clifton, New Jersey, with some surprises from El Creepo, one of their other side projects.
And Knives Out and Polka Dot Cadaver.
So anything related to Todd Smith, you'll catch at this show. I believe it's their first time in New Jersey.
Maybe back in the day they were, but certainly not in recent years.
Well, that's nice. You guys don't have to go to fucking Maryland to see them.
Oh, God, it feels so good to just go down to Clifton for once.
Just to Clifton.
And I'm sure once they're done, they'll be happy to leave New Jersey.
Yes.
On October 12th, new wave of British heavy metal legends Satan are playing with Nature and Sacrificial Blood at St. Vitus in Brooklyn. Satan is promoting their new record, Cruel Magic. And as I mentioned earlier, on October 27th, 28th, we have Days of Darkness in Baltimore, Maryland, where Goblin is playing as part of a continuation of their tour. What is it they're doing again, Ray?
They're going to be doing the Suspiria movie. So that's one of the biggest soundtracks that they're known for. And, they're going to be scoring over that.
Thank you, Mungus. And also headlining is Blue Oyster Cult and a bunch of doom metal bands. Finally, on November 6th, Perfect Circle is playing Madison Square Garden.
All right.
Well then, we're going to have definitely some cool tours to talk about on our next episode.
All right, so real quick, we're gonna fire out some album reviews at you guys. Tom and LR are going to do this real quick. They're going to just go over a couple of new albums that have been released over the last few months and give us their general consensus on them. Tom?
All right, thank you very much, Bates. Well, basically, there have been a lot of heavy metal albums to come out this year, and I have a top 6 and a few other, slight variants, which we're just gonna really dive into and hit real quick. All right, everybody ready? Okay, here we go. Black Label Society. This is one of my favorite albums of the year. The top 5 called Grimmest Hits. Basically, and this is in no particular order. So, these are all albums that I would recommend. So, Grimmest Hits, it's their best album since, in my opinion, since 2010's Order of the Black. You got a lot of diversity on this album. You have a lot of heavy riffs. You also have a little bit of cheese in the sense that you have a song called "The Day That Heaven, Went Away," which is quite possibly, in my opinion, the worst song on the album. My favorite song on the album, "The Betrayal." All right, along with that, we also have COC, "No Cross, No Crown." This is a band that has not put out an album in 7 years, and honestly, they sound angrier and more furious than they ever have before, which is a good thing for the listener, because as a COC fan, I enjoy listening to that anger and fury. Basically, the first part of this album hits hard and hits good, and you're going to want to buy this album and listen to it over and over and over again. Good songs throughout, but like I said, early on it's the best with songs like "The Luddite" and "Cast the First Stone." Number 3 is Saxon with Thunderbolt. And for those of you who don't know, Saxon have been around since 1979, one of the few new wave of British heavy metal bands, still performing the new wave of British heavy metal stuff, and along with bands like Iron Maiden, they basically put themselves on the map. Thunderbolt is, one of the best albums that they've put out this millennium, and they have put out a lot of albums in this millennium so far. And this is definitely a highlight, so go out and purchase it. Number 4, Monster Magnet, Mindfucker. I swear to God, I love Monster Magnet.
That's the best name for an album I've ever heard.
And I gotta tell you, it's one of the best songs on the album. Let me tell you something, man. This is a band that really needed a revitalization. And this is easily the best album that they've put out, in my opinion, since 2004's Monolithic, baby. Alright? My favorite songs on this are "When the Hammer Comes Down," because that is just an epic track, and a song called "I'm God." Alright? Basically because that's the attitude he has on this album. He feels like he's God, and he, lets that shine through in every note that he sings. Dave Windorf's the fucking coolest. That's basically all it comes down to. All right. Number 5 is a new band called Visigoth. All right, and I picked this up, just as kind of one of those things where I go on Amazon, I go on a Jag, I want to pick up a whole bunch of stuff, and I picked up an album called The Conqueror's Oath. This is the first album. And I gotta tell you, I was surprised at how strong it is. This is kind of like the Manowar stuff. It sounds like, like stuff like, fighting, like fighting things, songs about warrior women, pledging the Conqueror's Oath, all that kind of oofty-magoofty Dungeons and Dragons metal shit that, that Manowar did so well on their Metal Blade albums, which is the record company this is on. This is on Metal Blade Records. New band. I would say check it out. I would say check them out if you're into that stuff. And one of the oldest bands on earth, Judas Priest, Firepower. I swear to bloody fucking Christ, this thing kicks so much ass. There's almost not enough ass on this earth for it to kick. Okay, this is basically a blitzkrieg album from beginning to end. 14 tracks. 1 instrumental, 1 sort of throwaway song in Lone Wolf, which I just particularly just cannot get into, but everything else on this album is a motherfucking scorcher, okay? I would suggest you go out and buy this goddamn thing, and if you can't buy it, kill yourself.
It's good.
Damn right it's good. You know why? Because Tom is back and he told you so. That's why.
Yeah.
Alright, we also have a couple honorable mentions. Godsmack, When Legends Rise. Me, I've been a Godsmack fan for, a very long time. They fall into the new metal kind of category. And I'll be honest with you, the only reason why this doesn't make the top 6 is because there's really no growth on this album. Sully Erna's vocals still sound the same as they did, 20 years ago on the first album. And there's just very minimal growth here. It just doesn't really lend itself to getting any more fans. If you're already a fan of Godsmack, go out and buy this album. If you're not a fan of Godsmack, I suggest going out and buying some of the earlier albums. Alright, and there's a there's a group called Union Square Music. They put out a new wave of British heavy metal 2-CD set, which has 40 songs on it. A lot of bands that, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea were mentioned in the new wave of British heavy metal. Like I said, it's an expansive grouping of songs. I would say, if anyone is interested in getting into the new wave of British heavy metal, I believe this is a fairly good place to start. It's not as good as the Metal Blade compilation from about maybe 25 years ago, which was directed, ironically enough, by that shithole Lars Ulrich, but this does fit the bill if that's the itch you're willing to scratch. We also have some disappointments. All right, and my biggest disappointment, we're just going to get that one right the fuck out of the way. The Sword, Used Future. Okay, there is nothing I can say to redeem this fucking album. Okay,
no.
Yeah, I mean, let's play this. I used to love The Sword. Okay, their first 4 albums were fucking awesome. I enjoyed the shit out of them. I thought they were great. This one, High Country kind of destroyed that image for me forever. Because when your first song is, when your first good song is the 8th track on the fucking album, it's a goddamn instrumental, that's what drives me nuts. And this album drove me up the fucking wall. Okay? You have 13 songs on it, 6 of them don't have any form of fucking vocals on it, and when the vocalist does show up, he sounds like he's bored out of his mind. He's like, don't talk too much to me. It's like, what the fuck, man? Show some goddamn expression in your fucking voice. Jesus fucking Christ. And the last one, and the last one that disappointed me a little bit was Ghost, Prequel. Okay, now don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I love this fucking band. But when you compare this album to the other albums that came before it, if you compare this to the first album, if you compare this to the second album, and you compare this to the third album, you can tell which one, and by far, by the way, is the weakest link of this chain. Okay, it's just my personal opinion. If you love the new Ghost album, fine. I'm just not particularly a huge fan of it, especially in comparison to the works that have come before, and quite frankly, I just find it a little weak.
I enjoyed their cover of It's a Sin. It was pretty decent. Gamma Ray has also covered it in the past many years ago. Also did a great job. It's not a heavy metal song by nature or origin, but it does work. So it's a highlight off the album. I've only listened to 3 songs, being Rats, the cover, of course, and Dance Macabre. They were good, but I haven't heard the whole album, so I can't really comment. But these things certainly grind your gears, don't they?
Although I will say this about the video for Rats, and this is the only other exposition I'm going to give about Ghost on this podcast. Okay? Watch the video for Rats, then go to YouTube, look up Billy Squier, Rock Me Tonight, the video. Okay? Because basically, they both dance around like a bunch of sissies who can't get the sand out of their cracks. Alright? It's just horrible to me. It's just, it's nightmarish. And the fact that Ghost would do a video like that, it's shocking to me.
It's ghostly.
If this is the way they're going to do videos, then please, we don't need to see you dancing in the middle of the street with a whole bunch of corpses and ambulances on fire. I don't need to see that crap. I don't think anyone else needs to either. But that's just my personal opinion. You don't like my opinion, go screw yourself.
So there's Tom, everybody. All right, guys. A quick thank you and a show of appreciation. Everybody who turned in to episode 5. We appreciate it greatly. All of our subscribers and anyone who is listening to this episode at a later date. Thank you guys so much.
And to keep up with announcements, further future events, and all things Metal Beer Horror, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Dead End Sight and like us on Facebook.com/Dead Entertainment.
And for all your true and old school heavy metal needs, look no further than Unstoppable Force webzine. Check it out at truemetal.org/Unstoppable Force.
And as always, you could check out all the latest horror news and upcoming commentary events, Wednesday night live shows, Metal Beer Horror, pretty much everything that we're doing at this point on deadentertainment.com. We write articles, we do pretty much everything at this point. You can follow me on Twitter at Ray Mungus.
You can also find both Mungus and myself hosting our weekly live podcast where we discuss horror and geek news. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Time. 8 p.m.-ish. Remember the ish. The ish is important. But every Wednesday night, 8 p.m.-ish, you can find that on the Dead Entertainment YouTube channel. You can also find my personal YouTube channel where I stream a couple times a week. It's a game stream and chat. That's you can find that at bit.ly/ldgaming. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, we're still nailing down the release schedule as far as this goes. So for future episodes, just keep your eyes peeled to our social media and the website. We're going to be editing this as soon as we wrap up, and then starting to release the old content, what everybody's going to be bitching at me about forever. And we're going to make sure that this gets in your ears as soon as possible.
Maybe not the lost episode, but
maybe
the rest
not
of
the
them.
lost episode.
Yeah,
Unless you're
promise.
listening to this for like 50 years from now, then maybe you already listened to it and saw Anthony's video of him playing with combat.
That's another lost video. We promise this won't be another lost episode, or so we hope.
All right, so thank you guys one more time. You can join us again roughly 2 weeks.
2 weeks-ish.
Ish. Emphasis on that ish for this 2-week schedule.
For another edition of Metal Beer Horror. Until then, keep those horns raised high. Always and forever, bloody, drunk, and heavy.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.